Hello, welcome to another Talking Hands video. Today I'm going to do a more comprehensive review of the Springfield Kuna. I know I've talked about it before, but now I've shot well over 1,500 rounds, probably 2,000 rounds to be honest with you. But I kind of stopped keeping track after 1,500. But I've shot all of that without any cleaning or adding any lube. I see a lot of people doing, torture tests on their guns, but they lube it between every single shooting session. So I've actually done it all without any cleaning or any lubing. I cleaned it and lubed it last night, so this is like the first time I'm going to be shooting it after cleaning it. So I'm going to shoot a couple rounds out of it, and then I'm going to talk about it. This thing's been sitting out in the sun and is freaking burning hot. Should have wore gloves. Before I go over my likes and dislikes about it, if any of you have watched my other content and has been keeping up with me for a while, you might notice that I have a lot of Springfield products. So I just want to make sure that it's clear. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I mean, if you look at how many subscribers I have and how many views my videos get, like nobody's going to sponsor me. Okay, so let me just let you know. Basically, when I turned 21, my very first firearm was a Springfield-Armory mil-spec 1911. And I love that gun. I mean, that was like my first gun, obviously, so it has kind of like that sentimental, value, and it served me well. And then from then on, obviously, I've bought other brands of guns, but then I did kind of keep up with the 1911s. It's been one of the platforms I do really enjoy. So I just had, the Springfield mil-spec, and then I bought like a Springfield MC operator. And then when I came to some money, I got a Springfield full custom 1911, which from the custom shop, which that one I still have. And all on 45. This is before the 9mm 1911 craze really hit full steam. And plus, I kind of like the 45. It's not the best caliber, obviously, because you get much less capacity. The recoil is a lot more, so the recovery time between shots is going to be, not as good. But yeah, so that's my history with Springfield, and it's not like I'm such a fanboy that they could just screw me over a million times and I keep on buying from them. I legitimately did have really good experiences with their guns, but very reliable. Anytime there's any kind of minor problems with it, I contact them and they'll fix it for free, or take a look at it for free, and then I realize it's like my magazine or something like that, But they've always been, the customer service has been excellent so far. So that's the reason why, I do kind of, if I have, let's say, I'm in the market for a PCC, and it just so happens that Springfield has one that fits the criteria that I have for, what I would like to purchase, of course I'm going to bias a little bit towards Springfield. So that's why. Okay, I don't want you to think that that anybody's paying me to promote their products or anything like that. Again, I don't get any money from these videos. I just do this for fun and for education. I try to do some how-to videos and stuff like that. So anyway, so back to what I was saying. I'm gonna go over the likes and dislikes of the Springfield Kuna. So for those who have been living under a rock and don't know, the Springfield Kuna is a roller delayed blowback 9mm pistol caliber carbine, or PCC, sold by Springfield-Armory, made by a company called HS Produkt, which is a Croatian company that makes firearms mostly for military and police contracts. So they're actually a very high quality gun manufacturer. So that's the reason why a lot of people try to criticize that, oh, it's not really made by Springfield. Honestly, I kind of feel like a lot of the guns made by HS Produkt is probably better. I mean, the 1911s have been made by Springfield and they've been like awesome, but I've heard some not so great things about their first line of, like, let's say the Prodigy, things like that, you know. But anyway, that's a total different topic. So HS Produkt is a very reputable brand manufacturer of firearms, and they're the ones who actually created this. They made this, I believe, it's for the Brazilian police or Brazilian military. So it was actually originally meant to be full auto and in 40 caliber. But anyway, so that's what the Springfield-Armory Kuna is. Now, the things that I like about it, obviously, it being roller delay blowback instead of just a direct blowback, it is a little bit smoother shooting. A lot of people will compare it with an MP5, but honestly, MP5 is going to be smoother and lighter shooting than the Kuna, out of the box at least. And I'm going to go, and I actually have another video, I'm going to go over all the different upgrades that I've done to it that will actually bring it closer to that benchmark. So that's one thing that I like about it. I like the ergonomics of all the controls. It's very similar to an AR style. You know, they have the, you know, the sucker switch is pretty similar to it. Got the bolt release and bolt hold open. Paddles are very similar to AR, and also, but except these are actually ambidextrous. Mag release is very similar to where an AR has it, and it's also ambidextrous, so that's actually kind of a little bit better in that sense. And the charging handle is also, you can switch it from one side to the other. I like it on the left side, so I can keep my firing hand on the, you know, on the pistol grip. The grip angle is pretty nice. The texturing on here is very similar to what they have on like the Echelon and the Hellcat. So it's kind of like familiarity is kind of good too, because I have those guns. Let's see, aesthetically, the way it actually looks really, really nice. I actually do like all the, you know, the kind of squared off lines on here. It kind of makes it look very, you know, modern and very like practical, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense. The ease of takedown, taking it apart to clean it, is also very easy. This is very similar to the AR. It has these two pins here that you pop up and they're captured, so you're not gonna lose them. What else? The trigger on this gun is, I would say, is okay. It's much better than like a CZ Scorpion. CZ Scorpion triggers are, you know, no offense, and I know CZ has a very strong following and they make great guns, but the CZ Scorpion trigger is trash. Sorry, come on, let's just admit it. MP5 trigger is not great either, because that one is meant to be full auto, so you're supposed to just pull it once and not semi-auto. So the semi-auto trigger, you know, having to pull it multiple times on the MP5 is actually not that great either. And then there's the Kuna trigger, and then what's better than it would be like an AR style trigger. You know, you put like a nice Geisley trigger on an AR-15, like a Geisley Super Semi-Auto. I mean, that's gonna be like, you know, much better than this, but it's not bad. You know, especially if you're shooting from, you know, reset to reset, like, you know, you're shooting rapid fire. It's not bad. The initial pull feels kind of long, but then, you know, like I said, after that, it's actually not too bad. So I would say that's also another thing that I do like. It's not the best thing, but I do like it. And let's see. Oh, let me not forget, because this actually saved my ass. The integral backup iron sights, which a lot of people make fun of. They're like, oh, you'll never use it. I literally used it. I drove down here. This is Homestead. It's like an hour away from where I live. You know, I drove all the way down here to shoot the other, maybe a couple weeks ago. And yeah, the battery on my Acura was dead. Which, I mean, it's kind of weird, because the reason why I always get aim point, because their battery life is always good. So I guess maybe the battery that I got was just kind of already bad to begin with. But anyway, so battery is dead. So backup iron sights to the rescue. I literally shot the whole day with it, and it was perfect. So for those who say that, oh, you'll never ever need it, well, apparently never ever happened to me, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that had this never ever happen to, right? So that's another thing that I really like about it. And even if you don't like it, it's kind of out of the way. It does stick up a little bit in the back here, so you can't put something completely over the back. So yeah, that's one downside of it, I guess. But for the most part, if you put like a magnifier that will sit on top of it, you know, all the things that I would intend to use it for, it's fine, it's great. And another thing I don't like about it is, since it was designed for a military contract, you would think that it's very durable, and it is. But when they made it for civilians, they took off the stock that came with it, and they put on kind of like a Picatinny rail adapter in the back for you to put on any kind of Picatinny braces, things like that that would fit on MCX, anything that will attach to a rail. So since that part was purely made for the civilian market, it was not tested in the military testing. That was made of polymer, not the best quality, honestly. Honest Outlaw has great videos. Go check his out. He reviewed his and he dropped it and it broke. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, there's companies that make billet aluminum replacement rails if you want to keep using that kind of system. Or what I did was I actually bought this from A3 Industries, which actually replaces that whole back piece. And the interface here is all metal. So I feel like I'm not going to drop this because I'm not rich enough to be able to just buy another one if it does break. So I'm not going to take a chance. But I would assume that this will probably handle it just fine. And to kind of add to that, the brace that it comes with, if you buy the version with the brace and not just the one without, it's a Strike Industries brace, which to use it is fine. You know, it feels okay. It's a decent length. The thing I don't like about it is that if once it's folded, you can't just rip it open. You have to actually actuate the mechanism. Like you have to kind of like lift the brace up and then swing it open. So it's kind of like if you know, to deploy it is kind of the thing that needs to be quick, because that's kind of like, oh, if something's emergency, you want to just be able to rip it open. You can't do it with that one. So I actually didn't like that one. So that's why I kind of went with just putting my own on here. This one by A3, once it's folded, you can rip it open. Problem with this one is to fold it is it's a royal pain in the ass. Let me see if I can get it. Oh, look, I got it. But yeah, it is kind of a pain in the ass to fold it, I'm not gonna lie. But to fold it is kind of something that you're never gonna fold it in an emergency, right? You're gonna deploy it in an emergency, and to deploy it, all you need to do, just rip it open. You know, so that's definitely a big plus in changing it to this. It is expensive though, so I'm not gonna lie. Another plus on it, it does have M-lock on the front here, although not that much because the barrel is pretty short, so the handguard is pretty short. But there's companies that sell longer handguards where to give you more M-lock space for it, things like that. But besides that, I mean, that's basically the things I like and things I don't like about it.
Hello, this is editing me, and I did forget one thing. And it might be a controversial thing, but another thing I like about the Kuna is that it doesn't use Glock mags. I feel like every manufacturer is tempted to use Glock mags because every Glock fanboy will clamor for everything to use Glock mags. The reason why I'm glad it doesn't is nothing against Glock, but against all pistol style single feeding magazines. I think any PCC should have staggered feeding magazines like rifles do, where you can load rounds simply by pushing them straight down, not down from the front and slide back under the feed lips. The reason for this is that pistol magazines are designed that way as a concession. Since the pistol needs to be small, it benefits it to have one single feed ramp in the middle, so that means the rounds need to feed from the middle as well. While larger platforms like rifles and PCCs, you have space to allow for staggered feeding, so there's no need to restrict yourself to that kind of magazine. Staggered feeding magazines allow for the use of speed loaders to load multiple rounds in all at once, either off a stripper clip or some other kind of guiding device. I actually have one I will show in another video, and it's something that would only work reliably on a staggered feeding magazine, and that's a feature I'm glad the Kuna has. Some has complained that it didn't simply use Scorpion mags, which is a valid argument since those are staggered feeding magazines as well, but it doesn't bother me because I don't have a huge stockpile of Scorpion mags or anything, so I would need to buy the new mags regardless, and they aren't expensive, so I'm fine with it. Anyway, back to the review.
Now, I mentioned earlier that I shot anywhere from 1500 to over 2000 rounds out of this gun without any cleaning and without any lubing. And the result of that, not a single malfunction. And I've done some of it with a suppressor, and before I had a regular suppressor that's not a flow through like this one, so it did make it really dirty, but it still performed flawlessly. Now, the problem that I have seen some videos talk about, and I can actually confirm that it's probably true, but it just didn't happen to me, is the magazines that they first came with, like the Gen 1 magazines. Springfield, I don't think they really have admitted that they changed it, but they did. But the Gen 1 magazines did have an issue where if it got really dirty, once the spring became fully extended, where it's like basically the last 1 or 2 rounds, sometimes those last 1 or 2 rounds won't be at tension. It would just be kind of like loose, and then that will cause a malfunction in loading. I've noticed in my original magazines that, yeah, if you only load 1 round on it, or if it's down to 1 round, it did feel a little bit loose. But I guess I was lucky. It functioned perfectly for me anyway. But I can see how that can cause a malfunction. Good news is that they have fixed it. They quietly fixed it, because I bought new magazines from them since then, and all of them are actually different. The springs are tighter, like I feel like they're longer, and the follower is also taller, so it doesn't tilt it's not prone to tilting. So they did change a few things in the magazine, so that potential issue has been fixed. The other potential issue, which is kind of a non-issue to be honest with you, is since this was originally made to be fully auto, there is a space behind the trigger module where I guess it must have been the auto sear used to sit in the original one. Now it's just a space. So sometimes a round can find its way back there and just kind of sit there. From what I've seen, I've had it happen to me once. It doesn't really cause any malfunctions. The gun will continue running just fine. It's just that when you shake it, you hear a round back there. So I mean, it's kind of weird. I think they could just release some kind of like a plug that you could put in there or something like that, just to prevent that from happening. But to be honest, like I said, it's not really that big of a deal. Another thing that actually I forgot to mention that I don't really like about the Kuna when I first got it, I kind of forgot about it because I've changed a lot of things since then, is originally the safety selector switch was kind of a pain in the nuts to move. Putting it into fire was fairly easy because you have that leverage, but taking it off fire, can sometimes be a bit of a pain. It was easier to kind of drag it with with the trigger finger to put it on safe than to try to do it with your thumb. But that's a very simple problem to fix. I'm going to release a video with all the upgrades I've done to it that's going to talk about how to fix that issue, and it's literally a $5 fix. So, well, actually it could be a free fix if you want to do it yourself, but it's $5 to just buy it apart instead of trying to modify yours. So I think you'd rather just do that, to be honest.
So in case you didn't notice, the cameras were bugging out towards the end there. One shut off completely while the other started having freeze frames, and it's because they started to overheat at the same time. It's hot here in South Florida. I wasn't wet from being a sloppy drinker, I was a sweaty mess. But anyway, that is all for my review of the Springfield Kuna. Overall, I really enjoy it. Look out for my upgrades video where I show you everything I replaced that really put this thing on another level. And most of the upgrades are extremely affordable, like $5 or $40 affordable, so don't miss it. Well, until next time, thank you for watching.